Hello Internet, and welcome back to my series of film reviews. Last time we covered Glass Onion and Knives Out Mystery, as well as the Indiana Jones series. But today I want to take a trip back to 2002 with a revolutionary blockbuster that changed the genre as we know it, Spider-Man. Released on May 3rd, 2002, Spider-Man was directed by Sam Raimi, famed director of Evil Dead, Oz the Great and Powerful, and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And it stars Tobey Maguire as Peter Parker in the first of 4 movies, the fourth, of course, being Spider-Man No Way Home. It also stars Kirsten Dunst as his love interest, Mary Jane Watson. There's also Willem Dafoe as the Green Goblin, who also appears in Spider-Man No Way Home. James Franco as Harry Osborn, Peter's best friend. Rosemary Harris as who is quite possibly the best Aunt May on screen, that not even Sally Field or Marissa Tomei could top. And Cliff Robertson as Uncle Ben. And let's not forget J.K. Simmons in his pitch-perfect portrayal of J. Jonah Jameson, the publisher of the Daily Bugle. J.K. Simmons will reprise his role in other forms of media, from video games to animated series, and even a different version of himself in Spider-Man Far From Home and Spider-Man No Way Home. People often make memes of Sam Raimi's Spider-Man trilogy, from pizza time to I'm gonna put some dirt in your eye. But I'll get to those memes at some other point. I grew up with Tobey Maguire's portrayal of Spider-Man, and I was ecstatic when I saw him appear through the portal in Spider-Man No Way Home. The reason I'm doing reviews of each of the Spider-Man movies is to get ready for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, not including Tom Holland's Spider-Man movies or Into the Spider-Verse. I was blown away by Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, so you can imagine my excitement for that movie. Plus, Spider-Man has always been my favorite Marvel superhero, just like how my favorite DC superhero is, and always will be, Batman. A live-action Spider-Man movie had been in development since the 1980s, but has been through development hell due to financial and licensing issues. Plus, James Cameron was even considered as a director before Sam Raimi took over. And like I said, when this movie was first released, it redefined the modern superhero genre, as well as the summer blockbuster. Spider-Man starts off with Danny Elfman's most iconic film score since his main theme for 1989 Batman, which I may do a review of sometime over the summer to get ready for The Flash. However, I will not be doing Batman Forever or Batman and Robin because those films are terrible. Plus, it'll take me a good while to cover Christopher Nolan's Batman trilogy. I may even review Matt Reeves' The Batman since that was one of my favorite films of 2022. This movie is an origin story for Peter Parker. Surprise, surprise. I'm sure you all know how this goes at this point. He goes on a class trip to a science lab where they experiment on spiders, where one of the spiders gets loose and it bites Peter, thus giving him his signature powers. Andrew Garfield suffered the same fate, but we don't see that with Tom Holland. Tom Holland's Spider-Man didn't need an origin story to begin with, because he already had his powers prior to the events of Captain America Civil War. Plus, Tom Holland did mention getting bit by a spider when he was talking with Zendaya in Spider-Man No Way Home. But there's a difference with Tobey Maguire's portrayal of Spider-Man and other variations of Spider-Man at the time. In the comics, Spider-Man uses mechanical web shooters, but Tobey's webs are organic. And they even poke fun at the fact that Andrew and Tom use mechanical web shooters, while Tobey does not. Norman Osborn is the founder of Oscorp, and he tries unsuccessfully to secure an important military contract. So then he tests a serum on himself, a performance-enhancing chemical that's unstable and causes him to go insane.
Norman's on sabbatical, honey.
It even gives him a split personality. On one side, there's regular Norman Osborn, and on the other, the Green Goblin. The Goblin even steals a glider, and he kills his colleague. Meanwhile, Peter gets in a fight with Flash Thompson. Between the 3 variations of Flash Thompson we've seen on screen, this one is the most convincing. The one in The Amazing Spider-Man was just a straight-up douche, until he started respecting Andrew Garfield more. And the one from the MCU is just a straight-up dork. After that, Peter goes out to test his new powers, even referencing Billy Batson when he tries to shoot webs for the first time.
Shazam!
One thing about the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy that bothers me is the relationship between Peter and MJ. They don't have the best on-screen relationship, but I wouldn't call it toxic either. But that's the thing, nobody's meant to be perfect. But Peter and MJ's love story is so much better than Twilight. Bitch, please! Anything is better than Twilight! There always seems to be a conflict between the two, and it ultimately reaches their breaking point with Spider-Man 3. Same with the relationship between Peter and Harry. But in the case of Peter and MJ, Peter tries to win MJ's heart, but it doesn't go as planned when he tells her that he can't be with her towards the end of the movie. In the second movie, she's engaged to Jameson's son, and in the third movie, she gets salty about a bad review for her play, Peter doing the upside-down kiss with Gwen Stacy, and Harry manipulating her into breaking up with Peter. And it only gets worse from there. But we'll get to that once it's time for me to review Spider-Man 3. Ever since Peter ended up with his spider powers, Aunt May and Uncle Ben become concerned about his recent behavior. So then Uncle Ben lectures him with his iconic quote, "With great power comes great responsibility." This quote is repeated by Aunt May before she dies in Spider-Man No Way Home, but not so much in The Amazing Spider-Man by Uncle Ben. Oh, and I forgot to mention that Bruce Campbell makes cameos in every one of Sam Raimi's movies, ever since he played Ash in Evil Dead. Even in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, where he repeatedly punches himself in the face. In the first movie, he plays the announcer at a wrestling ring that Peter signs up for. In the second movie, he plays an usher at the theater where MJ's play is happening. And in the third movie, he plays the maitre d' at a French restaurant. Peter wants money so he can impress Mary Jane, so he gets an opportunity to win money by taking part in a wrestling event, where we get a cameo from Octavia Spencer. And the suit he wears is just a prototype suit that was only meant to be worn in the opening act. So he takes part in a cage match where he goes up against a professional wrestler named Bonesaw McGraw, played by Macho Man Randy Savage. He wins the fight, but he's only awarded $100 when the ad said $3,000, but the guy who pays him missed the part where that's his problem. Then a guy with a gun robs him and makes off with the rest of the money. While he escapes, he shoots and kills Uncle Ben. But later on in Spider-Man 3, it's revealed that Flint Marko accidentally shot him, and he regretted it since. Peter ultimately wants revenge against the guy who presumably shot and killed Uncle Ben. But as soon as he realizes that it was the same guy who made off with the cash and he recognized his face, the guy falls to his death, and Peter escapes. Meanwhile, the Green Goblin goes on a rampage and kills several people, including a test pilot from Quest Aerospace. And that was before Peter, Harry, and MJ graduate from Midtown High School. That's when Peter gets an upgrade on his suit and it gets the attention of J. Jonah Jameson, who hires Peter as the photographer for the Daily Bugle to bring him pictures of Spider-Man. So what's the most clever way for Peter to take pictures of Spider-Man? By placing cameras in hidden places while he's fighting crime and having the picture snap at the perfect time. Norman is then ousted from his own company, and the board tells him that they're selling Oscorp to Quest Aerospace. And they don't know how much he sacrificed! The Green Goblin then ambushes a festival in Times Square where we get a cameo from Stan Lee, and where Peter suits up and faces off against his first supervillain. And did I mention how perfectly cast Willem Dafoe was as the Green Goblin? He would have made a great Joker. The Green Goblin depicted in The Amazing Spider-Man 2 was downright hideous, and I don't mean it in a good way. More on that when it's time for me to take a look at The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Peter saves MJ and he brings her to safety, and is later revealed that Harry is dating her. And once he sees that Peter has feelings for MJ, he gets pissed. Especially revealed when Spider-Man fights off a bunch of goons who are harassing MJ. They have the iconic upside-down kiss where only Spider-Man's mouth is revealed. Keep in mind, folks, MJ has no idea that Peter is Spider-Man here. She doesn't find out until the end of Spider-Man 2. And after Spider-Man is ambushed at the Daily Bugle by the Green Goblin, he gets knocked out and brought to a rooftop where the Goblin offers a place by his side, but Spider-Man refuses. And despite everything he has done for the people of New York, eventually they will hate him. And the authorities even have a warrant for Spider-Man's arrest. But he goes into a burning building and saves a woman's baby. But he goes back into the burning building, only to find the Goblin. What about my generous proposal? Are you in, or are you out? It's you who's out, Gobby. Out of your mind. Wrong answer! That piece of dialogue was way too cheesy. Even Tobey Maguire thinks so. So Goblin tosses a bunch of wing grenades at Peter, and he gets scratched in the arm to the point where he bleeds. And when he's invited to Thanksgiving dinner, Aunt May and Norman see that Peter is bleeding. That's when Norman finds out the truth that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. So then Goblin puts Aunt May in the hospital when he ambushes her home after the Goblin advises Norman to attack Peter's heart. That's when Peter finds out that the Green Goblin knows his identity, and that he's fucked. Then the revelation that Peter has feelings for MJ, that causes Harry to tell Norman about them, revealing Spider-Man's ultimate secret. And while Aunt May is still in the hospital, she makes mention of Superman while she tells him that Peter's heart belongs to MJ. Then he calls MJ telling her how he feels, but it's the Goblin who answers the phone, telling him that he's holding MJ hostage. So Spider-Man has a choice to make, save a cable car of children or save MJ from falling to her death. He finds a way to save both, and Goblin then takes Spider-Man to an abandoned building where he pummels the shit out of him. But Spider-Man takes the upper hand until Norman's off sabbatical, honey. He asks him for forgiveness, and he asks him to be a son to him. But he had a father, and his name was Ben Parker. And then, Godspeed, Spider-Man, with the funniest death line in history.
Oh.
And in his dying breath, he begs Peter not to tell Harry about his identity as the Green Goblin. But in another universe, as Tom Holland is fucking up a spell to try to get the entire world to forget that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, the Goblin escapes death. Meanwhile, the other Sam Raimi villains are all dead according to Sandman. What I love about Spider-Man No Way Home is how it ties up loose ends with not only Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man movies, but also Andrew Garfield's as well, and how each universe is all interconnected thanks to the power of money, profits, and contracts with Sony. So Peter leaves Norman's body in his living room with Harry watching. And then at Norman's funeral, Harry vows to get revenge on Spider-Man, even though he doesn't realize the truth about Norman's death until Spider-Man 3. Now, could Spider-Man No Way Home have benefited from an appearance from James Franco? No, not really. But it would have been touching to see father and son reunite, all thanks to Tom Holland and Benedict Cumberbatch's multiversal shenanigans. I mean, Otto and Norman's first interaction in that movie. Otto was under the impression that Norman is a ghost, and that he's dead. Until Sandman reminds them that in his timeline, Norman and Otto are both dead. Why they didn't get James Franco on board to do Spider-Man No Way Home, I don't know. But it would have been interesting to see an interaction between James Franco and Tom Holland. Mary Jane tells Peter that she loves him, but the only way he can protect her is by putting her in the friend zone. And as he walks away, he recalls what Uncle Ben said to him. With great power comes great responsibility. I'm giving Spider-Man a 9 out of 10. I couldn't have imagined a more perfect director than Sam Raimi to helm Spider-Man's very first on-screen outing. And then there's Mark Webb and John Watts. There's just something about Sam Raimi's filmmaking style that just fits Spider-Man like a charm. And Tobey Maguire's casting is impeccable. He's always been my favorite on-screen Spider-Man, with Tom Holland being a close second. The special effects still hold up to this day, given that this movie came out more than 20 years ago. This movie has aged like a fine wine, and so is its successor, Spider-Man 2. But Spider-Man 3, we'll get to that later. Stay tuned for my upcoming review of Spider-Man 2 coming soon, as well as all other projects I have planned for 2023. Until then, I'll see you all next time.